friends, hello ladies, hello gentlemen. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing very well. You're welcome to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you always for coming by. And if this is your first time, you're highly welcome. Today I want to discuss a very critical topic. A topic that is like the elephant in the room and a lot of people don't like to talk about it. Today I want to discuss that topic, and that is domestic abuse against men. So when you hear domestic violence, when you hear domestic abuse, what's the first thing that comes on your mind? You hardly imagine that it is a woman that is maltreating a man. You hardly imagine that it's a woman that is beating her husband. The first thing that comes to your mind is a man hitting the woman or a man maltreating the wife. Okay, so it's very difficult, it's very hard, it's sometimes unimaginable to believe that a man will be passing through domestic violence. But let me shock you. There are studies that suggest that both genders, male and female, carry out equal violence against each other. What I'm trying to say is that the number of men passing through domestic violence equals the number of women passing through domestic violence. So there are studies that suggest that. So what is domestic abuse? Domestic abuse is also known as domestic violence, right? So this is a pattern of behavior in a relationship that is used to maintain control or dominance over an intimate partner. It could be someone you're dating, it also could be someone you're married to. So abuse can be physical, abuse can be emotional, abuse can be verbal, abuse can be psychological, abuse can be financial. This is when you know your partner does not have money and you're using the money to intimidate her, trying to withhold money so that she can suffer, something like that. So there are different forms of abuse. When we think abuse, it's not just somebody hitting you, there are different other forms. Even verbal abuse is as worse. Emotional abuse is terrible. There's no form of abuse that is okay. So abuse intends to hurt you, it intends to humiliate you, to make you afraid, to blame you, to terrorize you, and sometimes it could be fatal. It could lead to something fatal, to kill you. There are so many instances. Go to social media, you'll see. Remember the story of the PDP chairman's son? I think the wife has been sentenced to death, but the sentence has not yet been carried out. So this man was at home. The wife accused him of cheating, or I think he's a Muslim. I know Muslims are entitled to 4 women. So this man was at home. The lady accused him of cheating, and I don't know if he denied it or not. The story did not say, but they went into a fight, and the lady used a knife to cut his hand. He was bleeding. So he went to the pharmacist and he called his friends and all that, and they advised him not to stay in the house. And he just, because the friends had intervened, he just felt maybe the wife has forgotten about the hotel, or the wife has forgiven him or something like that. And he went to sleep. Do you know that night the lady carried a knife and stabbed him multiple times, and then took him to the hospital where he died. So this story is not uncommon, it's not rare. Remember the story of the lawyer in Ibadan, a barrister, a lady. It's almost the same story, The woman thought the husband was cheating, or maybe she found out the husband was cheating, and then she stabbed the man in his sleep. And that lady was sentenced to imprisonment. The government of the day gave her pardon. I think she had been released from prison. So there are so many stories like that, so many. A lot of stories, Men are passing through domestic violence every day, but they don't speak out. So let's discuss different categories of men that pass through domestic violence. So this list is not limited to this. This is just what I've been able to come up with. So for one, men that have been manipulated. There's a story I saw on internet once. This man met this lady and they fell in love. And the lady was telling him how she has been in a bad relationship, how she has been been through domestic abuse and all that. And the man swore to himself that he will make sure that the lady doesn't pass through that again. So in his mind he was doing the right thing, and then they started the relationship. So I think the lady took advantage of that, and then she became very aggressive. She was hitting the man, she was stalking the man, she was doing so many abusive things towards the man. And because the man swore to himself that he was not going to hurt the lady, because he didn't want the lady to pass through what she had passed through in the past, he did not do anything. So he was in that relationship for over 6 years. It got to a point that he could not bear it any longer. So I think he went to the pharmacy. I think he went to the pharmacy to get some drugs, and while on the way he decided he was not going home again, and that was it. The man passed through hell. I don't want to start recounting the story, but that's just the summary of the story. He felt he was doing something nice, This lady, the lady came up as a victim, as somebody that has passed through so much in her previous relationship, and this man decided that he was going to make sure that she doesn't pass through that again. So some abusive women will use that against you, will use your niceness against you if you go into an abusive relationship. Another category of men are men that go for bigger size women. I'm not saying that all big size women are abusive. I'm talking about those that can pass through that, especially physical abuse. I've seen stories of men that have been beaten by their women, and if you see the size of the woman, you'll be wondering how he was going to defend himself in that situation. Women that are heavy and then they marry small size men, and if that woman is abusive, it is very easy for them to physically abuse the man. So men that marry violent women also are prone to domestic abuse. Like the story that I've listed before about these women that will carry knife. I've seen a woman using hot water on her husband, and then the whole back was spilling off. I've seen the one that used boiling oil on the husband. And like the story that I've already listed, using weapon like knife. So men that are married to violent women are prone to domestic abuse. Men in financial difficulty. Like I always say, not all women will put their men through this. I'm talking about men that are abused, the kind of situation that led to the abuse. Men that are in financial difficulty, especially if it's a woman that is taking care of the financial difficulties, the financial responsibilities of the house, you see a lot of emotional abuse in this kind of setting. The woman will abuse the man in a very terrible way. The woman will call him names, will tell him that he's good for nothing, that look at your mate, your mates are doing this, I'm here feeding you. This one is very, very common. Once the man comes down financially, if they are married to bad women, to women that can abuse them, it's always a very terrible situation. And finally, the last category I want to talk about are men that have also abused their women at one point or the other. Women are very bad when it comes to revenge. That is just the truth. There's a saying that hell has no fury like a scorned woman. Women are very bad. So imagine if when the man was okay, he was abusing the wife. Imagine if he now becomes sick, probably due to an accident, probably he lost his leg, he could not use his legs. Or maybe he now became poor. Okay, there was a story I read on Facebook once. This hide my ID kind of story. So the man was complaining that the wife is doing this, is doing that, making him do sexual things to her, things that he wouldn't love to do, and a lot of complaints. And then the woman replied that when the man was rich, when the man had money, that he used to make her do those things too, those sexual acts that she does not like, that the man forced her. And if she does not agree, the man will bring women from outside and sleep with them on her matrimonial bed, so that now that she has money, that thing that man used to do, that she knows that she enjoys it too, but for the mere fact that she was doing it to the man when the man was rich, that man must continue. If not, the man should pack out and leave her house. And being that the man was financially incapacitated, he could not, so he kept on doing what he did not wish to do. So when there is this kind of situation, maybe the man was abusive towards her when things were going fine. When the situation changes, the woman might decide also to be abusive towards the man. Let's try to identify some forms of abuse, that are not physical. Physical abuse is very, very common. That one is something that you can just, see and know that abuse is happening. But there are some, especially emotional abuse, that is very terrible. And sometimes it's difficult to identify. So let's see some of them. For one, they embarrass you in front of your friends, they make fun of you in front of your friends and even your family members, and you cannot do anything about it. They make you feel that you cannot make decisions, like your brain is not developed enough to make decisions. They use intimidation or threat to gain compliance. They treat you roughly. Sometimes they just, when you're walking and maybe they are coming, they just shove you or push you aside, making you feel like you're nothing. Sometimes physical violence comes in whereby they use weapons or they hit you or they throw things at you, and then you don't even know where the next thing is coming from, if you're to dodge or you're not to dodge. It's terrible. It's a very terrible experience. Sometimes they call you severally, trying to know where you are, and if you're not where they think you're supposed to be, it causes serious trouble. So every time you're on your toes, every time you're walking on eggshells, if you're in a noisy place and supposed to be in a quiet place, when you call, you're afraid, you don't even know what to say, even when you're not doing something bad. That is emotional abuse. So why don't men ever speak up? Especially in my country, Nigeria, we have conditioned men to be strong. They are not permitted to show any sign of weakness. They are not permitted to be weak. So they find it difficult to voice out. Sometimes nobody believes them. It's kind of embarrassing for you to even go and tell somebody, my wife, they beat me. Who you want to say your wife, they beat you, It's just, unless that person is very close, it's very difficult for you to go and open up and tell somebody that my wife is beating me, my wife is maltreating me. It is not in our culture, People want you to be strong even when you're weak. So every small thing, man up, you're a man, you're a man, you're not supposed to show any sign of weakness. So it embarrasses the man to come out to tell people that his wife is maltreating him, that his wife is beating him. So they don't say anything, they just swallow everything up. Sometimes this develops to high blood pressure, and then they end up falling sick. It's a very terrible experience for a man to be in an abusive marriage. So what should you do if you find yourself in that situation? First of all, talk to somebody that you confide in. Talk to your friend. Talk to a family member that you trust. You have to open up. You have to speak up. Forget about society saying that you have to be strong even when you're weak. Forget about that. You have to speak up. Don't chest everything. Don't swallow everything. Talk to somebody. Admitting that you have a problem and trying to seek help does not mean you're weak. It does not mean that you have failed as a husband. Don't blame yourself. You are not weak. Secondly, leave if possible. A lot of people don't want to leave because of their children, like I said earlier. You want to, you want that family union. You want that oneness in your family. And your wife being abusive, she knows this, and then she capitalizes on it and continues to abuse you. So leave if possible. You don't need to be in that situation. Don't allow anybody on earth to put you in that kind of situation, to abuse you. Take hold of yourself. Take hold of that power. Don't give anybody the power to make you feel miserable. Don't do that. So leave when it is possible. Leave if it is possible. Thirdly, never retaliate. Whatever your spouse is doing to you, don't retaliate, because it will escalate the situation. I've seen a case where the man is very quiet, or a story, I've heard a story where the man continued in this abuse, and the day he decided to retaliate, it became fatal. Nobody's going to hear that, but that was the man's story. It could be true. So never retaliate. It could trigger the abuser, and then everything could just become so, out of control. Take hold of yourself and just be patient. Another thing I want you to do, get evidence. You can plant a camera, because if you want custody of your children, you need evidence of abuse. So when you go to the court, probably if this leads to divorce, and you go to a court, you need evidence that you were being abused, that you were in an abusive relationship. Because women are very emotional. They could cry, and make the judge, feel that you're lying. The men, a lot of people don't believe men. How will you go out and say you were abused? A lot of people will not believe you. So get evidence, so that if it comes to a point where there has to be a problem with custody, with the evidence you can show that your wife was being abusive. And lastly, there are domestic abuse helplines for different states. I don't know the state you're in, but you can find out, so that you could also, contact these helplines. I think there are NGOs too that are involved in this kind of situation that can help. So in conclusion, guys, abuse of any kind is wrong, and men also cry. A lot of men are crying in their marriages. A lot of men are crying in their relationships. So I want to advise men, please do the right thing and speak up. Don't die in silence. Speak up. Let us hear your cry, so that the society, we can take this thing more seriously, because it's like a joke right now. Nobody is taking it seriously. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I hope you learned a thing or two from this video. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed, and also share with your friends. Remember to turn on your notifications, so that whenever I post a video, you'll be the first to know. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see you next time in my next video. Bye.